What's up, everyone? Thank you for checking out and supporting this episode of Raised a Geek. This week, we wanted to close out this holiday weekend by talking about Survivor Series 2024, which took place on Saturday night, which is last night for us. Where does this year's installment fall in the history of big moments in the month of November for the WWE? Let's find out. I'm Chris, and as always, I'm here with my buddy Don. How we doing, man?
Chris, what is up today, my friend? Everything is well. Can't complain too much on this post Thanksgiving episode of Raised a Geek. The holiday season has begun. We are in it. There are Christmas trees for sale and Mariah Carey's on your radio already. And we're in it. This is it.
4 more weeks ago. 4 more weeks ago.
Uh, see,
Almost done.
I like the Christmas season. I think I've said this before. Like the day comes and goes, and it's like, I don't know. But like the season's okay. Everything's jolly. Everyone seems a little nicer. But we'll see how this year goes. 2024 is a weird animal, so you never know. You never know what's gonna happen.
Never do. But yeah, it'll be good. It's always good to have some time off work, see some family, see some friends, do some things. I'm making a trip up to Chicago for Christmas, so I'm sure I'll be hitting you guys up and saying, "What are we doing?" and trying to find some time to come hang out with you all and whatnot. So yeah, it's a good time. I'm trying to be more positive this year than I normally am. Normally, I'm just like bah humbug.
Positivity. That's
Positivity. I got to
uh,
be positive if I'm going to make it through 2025 and beyond.
that's what we're gonna do.
If I live in the negative, it's just not going to work. Now we're coming off Black Friday. Did you go shopping? I know we talked about it with our Thanksgiving episode, talking about some history days of us shopping on that time. But did you
Yeah.
do anything or not?
We also talked about it like that being like the first opening sequence of that Thanksgiving movie, which was our last episode. Black Friday being like
Which,
an
if you missed it, go check it out. Came out last week. It's over on YouTube.
yeah. You can still enjoy that. Thanksgiving is past, but you can listen to a little Thanksgiving horror. Dude, no, of course not. I didn't go anywhere. Like, bro, those days are over. Like, I even saw a couple posts on there's either TikTok or Instagram of people like making fun of that very thing, being like, uh, I guess some big ticket item, not even big ticket because it's not expensive, but in years normal would be a big thing where Target like puts it right in front of the store when you walk in the front doors is
Mhm.
Taylor Swift display of, like, her tour book, like, the Eras tour
Mhm.
book with pictures, and, like, on a normal year, if there was really Black Friday, this would be the thing where all the girls are rushing in the and boys rushing in the store and, like, snatching and trying to fight each other for and pulling hair and stomping on people, but, like, some guy had a video where he just, like, walked in and he was pretending to push people around and, like, kick somebody and fight with an invisible person for it. It's like, that just isn't a thing anymore. It's just not.
Yeah, I was wondering if anyone still does that. Like, I don't really go out or go looking anymore, but I feel like they've definitely toned that down with doing sales throughout the whole month of November and so much being shifted to online. I know the pandemic escalated a lot of that where people just were like, I can buy shit online. So why am I doing this? Um,
Really, places like Best Buy and even Target to some extent are just probably happy to still be in business with the way that you can get anything in those stores just sent right to your house without ever having to step foot out of, off your
mhm.
so no, but then, like, obviously, there was some online stuff. I picked up a video game, a couple games. I've looked at some other things. Uh, but yeah, nothing really. I guess if anything strikes me here, I can still do it because there's also a Cyber Monday is a thing. So we have that today and tomorrow. But
Yeah, I
yeah,
was going to tell you that Best Buy still had Silent Hill on sale, Silent Hill 2 on sale at Best Buy.
uh,
Um,
feel for the because I told you it's not on sale anymore at on Amazon, but you're
yeah,
saying, well,
Best Buy still had it on sale today. I was looking at Space Marine 2 and I was looking at Madden 24 to see if I wanted to pull the trigger. Madden 24 I think was like $30 or something. So I was sitting there going, "Do I want to buy another football game that's going to sit on my shelf?"
right, but the urge is always there, but then you don't play it as much as you thought. But yes, the urge is always there. Like, will I play it? Maybe I will this time. Maybe not. This is the time when I
Maybe
play.
this is the Madden I'm going to jump into and enjoy. I bought college football and played a few games and was like, maybe I wish these were NFL teams. Oh, I could buy Madden. I
Give it
realized very quickly that I'm not a college football fan. I should have known ahead of time that I don't watch college football. So when it came time to pick a college team to play, I'm like, I don't know any of these teams or any of these players or any of these things.
right.
And I tried playing a game online and got destroyed. Every pass I did got intercepted, and every run I did got fumbled somehow. So I was like, I feel like everyone was cheating.
I feel like the allure of that game is yes for people who there is a section of people who love college football like more than the NFL,
Mhm.
follow it, and that's not me, like me and you. We're more NFL guys. That's just, and I think the allure of that game is also just like the dynasty mode of like being a coach and recruiting and going through like a I don't know if it's called dynasty or not franchise mode or
Something
something.
like that.
That was like a lot of the allures, being the coach and recruiting, high school
Mhm.
recruit, have to convince
Yeah.
players to come to your team, and it sounded fun on paper, but it's like
It did, but when I jumped into it, it was so dense and overwhelming that I ended up just clicking auto
yeah.
just to keep playing, the actual game. So I was like, okay, maybe this one wasn't for me. It happens, what are you gonna do? But yes, I definitely I think that comes down to the fact that neither one of us really went to a college.
University,
So
right,
we have no ties to any school to really call home. So we were never like brought into that whole area. So I feel like any team I would jump on, like you can't even jump on like a local team. Like with NFL, you could be like, "Oh, we're from Chicago, so we're Bears fans."
yeah,
But like with colleges, you're like, "Well, there's like 15 to 20 different schools in Illinois.
right.
How do I pick one?" What it's just seems exhausting.
The closest I have to it is like my sister graduated from Illinois, so I'm like, "Okay, I guess I'll root for Illinois," and I'm from Illinois, and their helmet says Illinois. I know, like, Northwestern is supposed to be Chicago's team, but both of those schools suck at football anyway, so it's
Yeah. Yeah.
I didn't go to
And
Ohio State.
but yeah, I'm glad Thanksgiving is done. I'm glad Black Friday is there. I'm looking at some Cyber Monday deals, see if there's any more video games because I grabbed a whole bunch of video games. The one sale that I really appreciated, and it's still going on till December 6th, is the Magic Mind Black Friday deal where you can get 50% off of your subscription or purchase if you use our link, magicmind.com/raisedageekbf for Black Friday. Or if you need to remember Raise the Geek, best friends, BF.
What?
Whatever works, but magicmind.com/raise the geek BF, and that gets you 50% off. We've talked about Magic Mind quite a bit here. I just downed my Magic Mind before we started recording to clear my head a little bit. And
Working,
it's
working.
working because before we started recording, what was I doing? I couldn't remember words.
Yeah, I think that magic mind finally kicked in for you. I got one left from the last shipment here, and I kinda been, like, hoarding it because I was like, "I don't want it to be gone." But, I think the next shipment's on the way soon, so that
Yeah,
that's
I think you
that's a
got some more coming here in the next day.
plus.
And that's the nice thing about having that automatic subscription, even just going a 15 pack and hit it up every day, every other day, you still feel the benefits with that. And I love the fact that it's just an easy to use subscription. And right now you can get it 50% off by, you don't even need a code. Just go to magicmind.com/raise a geek. B as in boy, F as in friend.
Holy friend, Black Friday or Black and Friday.
It all works, it all works. But yeah, that's definitely been my favorite sale of the year.
Good deal, man, cannot beat that at all. If you've been interested in trying this at any point or wanna get that fresh delivery sent to your house, cannot beat that deal, man.
No, it never gets better. I mean, all the way up to this point, we've been offering 48%. This one is 50. So take advantage, get stocked up, get subscribed, get those nootropics and all those fresh ingredients that we've talked about in all the previous episodes at 50% off. But you have until December 6th. So only a couple days from now when this episode drops. You only got a couple days. So definitely take advantage of that deal. All
Absolutely.
all links are down below in the description. But Don, I think it's time to talk about some Survivor Series. Come in,
Oh,
ran here in like what Vancouver or British Columbia, Canada.
I
Um,
think they're the same thing, but yes, Vancouver, I think.
Over on the West Coast, they decided to kick it off at like 3 in the afternoon their time, 5 o'clock Central where we were. I was out running
Doing
errands, and all of a sudden I'm getting texts going, women's war games match is starting, and I was like, huh.
Like it's 5 p.m. What's going on?
Yeah, I was like, I was planning on about maybe being home by about 6:30 to catch this show.
Yeah.
So
I looked back after the fact and it was announced somewhere, like some big wrestling site posted that it's an early start. I guess they did the same thing for Bad Blood.
Mhm.
I didn't remember, but uh who knows what? I don't know. It seems like, especially because also then in Vancouver, I think they're even earlier. So I think for them it was like a 3 o'clock
Yeah,
start.
they were West Coast, so they're 2 hours behind us, 3 behind Western or Eastern.
Like 3 p.m. is when Survivor Series started
Yeah.
in Vancouver.
They
It's
were
like,
done by 6.
yeah, it's strange. I don't know. I don't know the thought process behind it. I can't. We haven't really been able to come up with an answer. Not
Maybe
that,
the only thing I can think of is just maybe because they've been doing so many of these international shows, and maybe they get a lot more interaction when they don't run it at night.
maybe.
Maybe by running, running from 7 to 10, maybe there's just more business when it's earlier in the day. I was reading an article where they were talking about more just like sporting events and other things starting to want to start earlier than normal and getting over. And I'll say, I think even football should do that because when I was in Connecticut for a work trip and Monday Night Football didn't kick off till like 9 p.m., I wanted to die.
That's too late.
I
Even
was I was sitting there like texting with you, and I'm like, oh my god, it's 11 o'clock and it's halftime.
I actually do Sunday night football and Monday night football when they end after like 10:30. I'm kind of like, ugh, now I just got to go to bed. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So this pay-per-view starting at 5, or PLEs, not pay-per-views anymore, but this PLE starting at 5 and being over around 9 o'clock wasn't that bad. Because when it's over, I look and it's 9 o'clock. I still got enough time to play Metaphor Refantasio. Like, come on, man. Uh him-
Or sit and, fall asleep on the couch watching, Mystery Science Theater 3000 Turkey Day Marathon. I've done that the last 2 days, so I have a problem. I wake up in the morning and I have all these texts from you guys going, "Call of Duty? Shooties?" And nope, I got nothing, because I was already sleeping because I was just watching Mystery Science Theater like I do every Thanksgiving, but this year I decided to fall asleep. But
all I know is you were missing some double XP weekend, buddy.
oh, son of a bitch.
Ah,
Well,
we've been getting those weapon upgrades while Chris has been catching his Z's.
got those Z's, got those Z's. But we were given that time because Survivor Series started earlier. But
Ugh.
we did get it watched. I did catch up this morning on what I missed while I was out running errands since it started so early. Um, so I am all ready to talk about it. We tried to get our buddy Tony, asked him if he was going to watch Survivor Series, wanted to come talk about it. He told us to go to hell. So we're gonna,
Tony's a big movie guy. He's an all right TV guy. Wrestling, not his bag. I understand it's not for everybody, but
it's not.
you and I did do SummerSlam on this show, and after that, we got some interaction with that one, and thought we'd try to stick to this, big show schedule,
Yeah.
so Survivor
Plan
Series
on
one after SummerSlam. So yeah,
Yeah, we plan on doing the big 4, keeping up with the big 4 and go from there because it is something that we geek out on, which is the whole point of this show. But if you watch Survivor Series and, we're gonna give you a whole bunch of opinions and takes on what we thought about this show, good, bad, and ugly. So, let us know what you thought. You know how to do that. Hit us up over on social media at Raise the Geek or, email us at raisethegeek@gmail.com. All of that information is down in the description below, so make sure you take advantage of that to join the conversation. But Survivor Series 2024, how'd you feel about this show, man? Where
all in
was your
all,
hype level coming in? Where was
before we get into like the specific matches, just like the general.
Yeah, just your general feel, like, going in and coming out?
Um, I gotta say, going in, I'm not saying I haven't been paying too close attention to the weekly shows like Raw and SmackDown, but like not as close as I was for maybe SummerSlam or WrestleMania or whatever. So I kind of knew what was going on, but um, obviously the two big War Games matches are headlining this thing, and that's what they've been doing like for the past 3 years at Survivor Series,
Mhm.
instead of the traditional elimination 5-man tag matches, which is up for debate which one is better. I mean, one has a cage, one doesn't, and one's elimination and one's not. Um, but yeah, anyway, so my excitement level was, I guess, kind of like not too high, not too low, just kind of in the middle. The three non War Games matches in this one didn't really move the needle too crazy for me.
Mhm.
It seems like uh an okay card for where the storylines are right now, but nothing like blow you away unless you're really huge into the bloodline stuff. Because even the women's War Games match didn't have a lot of story with it. It's just basically Liv and Rhea have this story going, and everyone else is just like, "Oh, you're a top woman on in our company, so we got to find 10 of the top women. You're one of them, so
Yeah.
you're thrown in here." Um,
That match, the women's match should have been an elimination match. It should have been a traditional Survivor Series elimination match if they were gonna do that. There was no reason for it to be a War Games match. It was just uncalled for, like I said. And then you're putting 2 of the same matches on the show, which I never understand. I understand you wanna give the women and the men same things, but if you don't have a story for it, come up with
Well,
something
that's fine.
different.
That's one thing with the women's match, and we'll get into it. But before we get into it, yeah, there wasn't much story with that one. Bloodline one has, yeah, tons. Everybody's kind of involved, has something going on. The women's match is just like, okay, uh, Candice LeRae or whatever her name is, like, what do you have to do with anything of this? Like, Bailey, all of a sudden, a quick replacement for Jade. I get it, but like, what do you have? I don't know. I know they tried to tie her in with Io Sky. We're getting into that match too much. Anyway, my hype level wasn't super high, but at the end, I think it was an okay show. I do prefer last year's. Last year's was awesome to me. Uh, the one we had with Punk returning and Randy Orton returning and a lot of other great matches. I love the women's War Games match from last year a lot better, I think. But I mean, as far as shows go, I think it was fine. I mean, that's just the word I land on is fine. How about you?
Real same. My hype level was really low. I wasn't, like you said, the women. I can give you a little bit of reason why some of those women were there and a little bit of their story, but just the build for really any of these matches, I really didn't enjoy. Even I know we talked about it a little bit in our group text chat a little bit, but even the main event, just the build. I feel like the build to Roman and reuniting that bloodline to me felt rushed and that they did it just to do it. And I feel like there was a lot of story they left on the table to really make Roman change. And we just have the same Roman Reigns, and everybody, why is like you have all these people like Seth Rollins and other people are like, I'll never team with him. He's a maniac. Kevin Owens has a whole story with Cody Rhodes going on right now, going, you know about Roman Reigns. Why did you team with him? But now you have all the bloodline people who were directly affected by Roman Reigns' behavior over the last 4 years, and they're just kinda like, "Whatever." They're like, "Hey, I want you to apologize to Jay," and he's like, "No, you're not family." And by the end of that episode, they're like, "Okay, we're family." And you're like, "Wait, he didn't apologize. He didn't do the one thing you wanted to join." So it's like little things like that that was just kind of annoying for me that I really wish I would've made me more excited for that match. But yes, very briefly, I will say my kind of thought process of the build and coming into this was whatever, and ultimately that was kind of they met my expectations of whatever,
Yeah.
ultimately with that. But we did start the show with the women's War Games match, which you already kind of started talking about, which was Rhea Ripley, Bianca Belair, Naomi, Io Sky, and Bailey against Judgment Day, which is Liv Morgan and Raquel Rodriguez, Nia Jax, Tiffany Stratton, and Candice LeRae. And like you said, a lot of random women kind of thrown together. I think they all kind of have their own little stories where Tiffany Stratton is kind of like best friends with Nia Jax, but she has the money in the bank. So that's like, who's she going to cash in on? And I think Candice LeRae kind of started to come into that storyline and being like Nia's new best friend to push Tiffany Stratton. So then Tiffany Stratton, it can be cheered when she cashes in.
Right.
Bailey, I have a feeling Bailey is going to be the one who attacked Jade Cargill. And that's why I think they're gonna because Bailey wasn't gonna be in this match, and somebody attacked her. So
Figured it was either Bailey or Naomi.
yeah, I mean those were the first 2 people on the scene. So clearly you're like, okay, there's our suspects.
Right.
Whoever walks up on the scene first and says what happened is chances are the person who did it. So
This one who knew it blew it.
exactly.
The old saying goes.
What about
First,
the first one? First one denied it, supplied it.
hey, that too.
So yeah, I mean that's what I'm assuming. So I mean they had things. Did this need to be a war games match? No. I personally miss I like elimination style matches. So the Survivor Series matches, yes, it got played out after a while, and I think every once in a while having one somewhere in here would have been good. And I really feel like doing 2 war games matches is too much, and I think it waters down
The
just the
other.
concept in the
Mhm.
same night, because then you're comparing them automatically, which one did I have more fun with and stuff. So, I mean, especially when you have Survivor Series and you have a Survivor Series style match, one either the men or the women get the war games, whichever one has the better story, and the other one gets an elimination match. And you can still do a 10 on 10 and then give everyone a little bit of something. But I always like that elimination because you have that story that you could tell of like people becoming outnumbered or
Well, it's also like, correct me if I'm wrong, in traditional Survivor Series elimination matches, it's tag. So it's like one person from each side in the ring at the time, and you tag in and out. Okay, so you got that. These war games matches end up being everybody in the ring at once. And this is what I felt like this women's match suffered from, and even the men's match to some point. And every year you see this a little bit. It's just there's too much commotion going on at one time. And it ends up being like too many people trying to, you're like, you can see people waiting on their spot, and it's taking too long because it's not going like the way they planned it, the way they scheduled it. And yeah, man, sometimes it just feels like there's just too much going on, and it leads to a lot of, like, sloppy spots,
yeah.
and I just felt like that I noticed that a lot, especially during this women's match, like, somebody waiting too long for their turn, and just, like, it gets all kinda messed up, and that happens in these kinda matches because there's just too many people in the ring at
Yeah.
one, you know?
There's too much going on. They don't know, because there's so much going on, you don't know where the cameras who's actually looking at the camera. So then there's people behaving like they're not on camera when they are. And you just get lots of things. And with the having this year, I noticed with the having the camera guy in the ring or whatever it was, we were picking up them talking all kinds of stuff to each other, giving each other cues. And I especially in this women's match, but even earlier too, there were other ones. But this women's match, it was definitely noticeable of
Yeah.
just like, not yet, now, and you heard them.
So there was, like, one spot where Nia Jax has been made fun of a bunch already on the internet for not swinging the chair because she didn't wanna, like, swing it hard and doing, like, the old Hulk Hogan no swings with a steel chair. Like, she was going to hit Naomi, uh, and Naomi put her hands up to, like, get hit in the head, but Nia didn't wanna do it, so you heard her go like, "No," and then hit her in the side, just like.
Yeah. And just kind of like, just love tapped her on her leg.
Yeah.
On her hip, and
Which
then when she went to go hit Bailey, right after that, Bailey was still turned awkwardly, so she had to, like, try yeah, those chairs the chair spots across this match. I know Io Sky at some point was, like, using the chair, and she was hitting people. Io Sky is just a menace, I feel like.
she's insane.
Yeah, she really is. Like, she just would run around, and she was hitting people with the wrong side of chairs, and she
Mhm.
was just yelling and jumping on people. When she ran in there with that fire extinguisher and started just spraying it in circles, I was dying. I was laughing. She was like, "Ah!" I was dying. I was like, "Okay, she's the highlight of this match
Yeah.
of just
Well,
being insane."
when she pulls out that garbage can, that's, like, synonymous with her in these kinda matches.
Yeah.
Mm.
I mean, it's crazy because it's now becoming this expected because I feel like and I think they even said it, "She did this last year. She's
Mhm.
gonna do it again."
Yeah.
Like, Michael Cole is blowing her spot before she even does it because she does it every year. She
Right.
always flips off the top of that cage, which is insane. I went to NXT San Antonio, and they had a War Games match,
Mhm.
and she was in that one, and I watched her do a backflip off the top of that cage, which was insane. So, yeah, I mean, she's the queen. I think they said she's been in every War Games match.
Well, they know they gotta include her. She's just, like, super athletic and, uh, um,
Yeah, and
does
gives
all
you
isn't scared of doing all the big spots. She's like the big spot machine.
she's like Kofi Kingston in the Rumble for the
Pretty
longest time. What spot is Kofi gonna do this year, and he was in the
Or
Royal Rumble every year of just doing some weird way to not get eliminated.
even before him, like Shelton Benjamin doing stuff like that. You always
Yeah.
have some doing that kinda stuff. But, yeah, the big spot with her with the moonsault off the, in the can, and then Tiffany also doing her. flip off the other side at the same time. I mean, that was the biggest spot of the match, and that was cool. It kind of tied, like, as much as I said this match was sloppy, it ended okay.
Yeah.
Strong enough, like Rhea ending it with her, side panhandle slam or whatever they call it to live off the turnbuckle.
Riptide.
But yeah,
That
that
yeah, that was a rough landing for Lip. I genuinely had fun watching this match. Yes, it was sloppy. Yes, it was all over the place in times. Yes, it was comedic when it probably wasn't supposed to be. But they had some rough spots that these women were doing, and they had a lot going on. I mean, Liv Morgan was really just owning this role that she has, and she was walking around with her Harley Quinn baseball bat, just walloping people, and they gave it. And I had fun watching this match. I thought they had some creative spots, and
yeah, they did.
like I said, it was a train wreck as it's supposed to be, and a little bit more than it needed to be. But I had
Yeah.
fun watching. I had fun watching this match. Ultimately,
Outside of the sloppiness, I
the
think.
chairs, they needed to figure out something with chairs.
Yeah.
Every time one of those women swung a chair, um, it just was weak, and it just didn't look quite right or wasn't set up right, so I don't really know. But then when they picked up, like, a trash can lid, they weren't afraid to swing that, and they swung that, and they were breaking toilet seats, so it's like, if
Right.
they're allowed, I think chairs just scared them for whatever reason, like, they are either too heavy, or I don't know, I don't really know what it is, but when they started playing with chairs, it was not pretty, and they should stick with them with cookie sheets and things that they're comfortable walloping each other with.
Mhm.
And clearly, they were all uncomfortable hitting each other with chairs, except for Io Sky. She was the only one who was smacking people with the wrong side of the chair, which I know had to suck.
Yeah, for sure. It was a fine match, like I said. My one last thing I'll end on is like that kind of bothers me that's just going on in the women's division is just figure out what you're doing with the Tiffany Stratton Money in the Bank. I'm tired of it being teased. Just like in the middle of this match, at the end of whatever last match, every time there's always something like, is she gonna? Is she not gonna? It's like it's gonna dilute the surprise of it when she finally does. You know what I mean?
Yep.
Because it's teased every time. It's not gonna hit hard when she finally does decide to use it, I don't think. So
Well,
I
yeah, it's not gonna be a surprise. It's not gonna it's because she teases it every time she's out there. So then you're just like, okay. And then when she finally does it, you're gonna be like, wait, is she? And it's gonna be one of those like late reaction things. We're like, oh God, she actually did it this time.
right, it's like the boy who cried wolf, like, we're not gonna care when you finally do it.
Yeah.
Um, but that's about it. But yeah, a pretty good ending to a messy match, but fine, but pretty good.
It was a good opener. I enjoyed that. They followed that up with Shinsuke Nakamura returning to challenge LA Knight for the United States Championship. I believe LA Knight won that at SummerSlam.
Yeah, he beat,
Logan
Logan Paul.
Paul,
Mhm.
either at SummerSlam or the month after. I can't remember.
It was SummerSlam.
I think it was SummerSlam too. So he's been the champ for a while. I really don't watch a lot of SmackDown, so I really haven't seen a lot of this feud, and or I was aware that it was coming. Shinsuke Nakamura picked up the win, which I really wasn't expecting. It was kind of surprising when it happened. I was like, they had a fine match. They had a TV match. It was nothing that you couldn't see anywhere else.
Yeah.
But I wasn't expecting Nakamura because we've been conditioned to watch him lose. He usually loses all of his feuds. He's like kind of like a determined like bad guy that people can work with, but they never get the win. And he
Right.
got the win this time and won the belt. And I thought that was surprising. So I was kind of just
I think it's
liked it
kinda
by reflex.
that was what mainly stands out about this match because nothing about the match itself really does. It's just the decision and the ending. Uh, Shinsuke just coming back, I think a couple weeks ago. He's only been on
Yeah.
TV 2 or 3 times, and now
Yeah.
he got, like, the US title. I'm happy for him because I think he's a company guy who's been losing a lot over the past whatever, and he's been off TV for a long time, and people were starting to wonder what's going on with him. Like, they're not he's not in any he's not ever on TV anymore. What's
Right.
happening? He comes back, his character's a little tweaked, not so goofy. Now he's a little more, like, dark. Still a heel, but not like, when he was on right before he left, he was very twitchy and moving around. Now he's coming out with a little extra face paint on. He's in the samurai Ronin gear coming to the ring, which looks cool as shit. And like, I think he might have new music and a new
Yeah,
whatever.
they remixed his music a little bit to sound a little bit darker.
Yeah. So it's just got me wondering, like, even outside the wrestling, is this just a sign that they didn't think LA Knight's run was that interesting? or they didn't see it like sustainable. Or I mean, LA Knight could easily get this title back tomorrow or coming up, but it's like, has LA Knight's run been good for you? I mean, he fought, I don't know, Carmelo Hayes and Andrade and a couple other people, but it's like, besides that, what has been interesting about his US title run?
I honestly, I haven't seen any of it.
Okay.
I was
Yeah.
aware that it was happening. I haven't seen a single match that he's done. Because I don't really watch SmackDown. I know he had that big triple threat at Crown Jewel. I didn't watch Crown Jewel.
Mm,
So I've been watching, like, I've been aware that he's been having things, but it hasn't impacted me because I didn't see any of it, so I can't really speak to that. I can see him getting that belt back relatively quickly, like probably Saturday Night Main Event.
something. Yeah.
Because I don't think, I mean, I really wish Cody would drop that belt. I wouldn't mind if he drops it to Kevin Owens in December, you know?
Mm,
Just to see something different, you know? Like, we've gotten so used to over the years because of Roman Reigns and a lot of these other, and Gunther, where we're used to these people holding these belts for years, and it's not how it used to be, and not every champion needs to be champ for a year plus, and we don't need to have all these record reigns, so
especially with these middle level belts, like
yeah.
United States title and the Intercontinental title should jump around like to
Yeah.
different people, try
A
out
little
different.
bit. Yeah, you try and see how they, I mean, they were always the workhorse titles of being like, let's see how someone handles a championship and how the crowd reacts to them as being champ to see if we can elevate them.
Grammy.
Um, or something for someone like LA Knight, who clearly has the skills to go up, but just there isn't a spot for him any higher. So we can
Mm,
give him something to do like Stone Cold and Rock. And I mean, everybody was IC champ for that almost exact reason. Like, hey,
that's
we're
the
not
match.
ready for you in the main event spot right now, so we're gonna give you this, and I feel like that's what that is. I don't think that him losing is anything to do with him being champ. I think it was just a way to shake up the feud. I think it was a nobody expected it,
Mm-mm.
and I think it was a way to wake everybody up and
Yeah.
then make them pay a little bit more attention, but I highly believe that LA Knight is probably gonna get that belt back in the next, unless they have a different feud or a different direction for him, I see him getting that back by the end of the year.
Yeah, it wouldn't surprise me either.
Yeah, but match was fine for what it was. They were telling a story. It was a little bit slower, but I enjoyed it. But I did enjoy the finish. It was surprising.
Yeah, good finish, and it was a quick match too because I got up to go get something out of the
Yeah,
kitchen, and I just heard, like, the bell ring and them talking about Shinsuke won. I didn't even see the
I
ending
didn't
'cause
either.
I didn't expect this match to be done done yet, but,
No, this match went. I got the time. It's 9 minutes and 45 seconds, so it didn't even go to a full 10. Yeah,
yeah,
I was in the, I was in the, I was hanging a medicine cabinet in the bathroom that I took down earlier in the day. So I was putting that back up, and all of a sudden I heard ding, 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 and knew I was like, oh shit, Shinsuke won and once again, part of the reason why I wasn't paying attention is because I figured LA Knight was going to win.
yeah.
So I was trained that Shinsuke is a loser. So
Granted, they're trying to show you a new way. Maybe he's not.
yeah, I rewatched that
I'm
match this morning just to actually watch it, and it was fine, but it wasn't special. The ending was what made it at least somewhat memorable.
For sure, agreed.
Now, to me, a match that is memorable was we had a triple threat match for the IC championship, starring, I was gonna say starring Braun Breaker, but with Braun Breaker, the champion, going up against Sheamus and Ludwig Kaiser. And they had a triple threat, and these guys are kind of like WWE. All wrestling companies now seem like they have these like groups of guys, but WWE definitely has their group of guys that seem like they're the hard hitters.
Mhm.
Sheamus, Drew McIntyre, Gunther, um, Braun Breaker. You know, they had those guys that when you watch their matches, you know that match is gonna be stiff as hell, and you're just like, okay, we're gonna get ready to watch something that's gonna be. Ilya Dragunov was one when he was before he got injured. You know, you have
Damian
these group of guys, huh?
Damian Priest, just like people who are gonna beat you up.
Yeah, they're gonna
Yeah,
beat you up, and it's gonna look real because 95% of it is.
yeah. Uh-huh.
And that's what this match was going to be, and that's what it ended up being. It was 14 minutes of these 3 dudes beating the shit out of each other, and I'm glad that Ludwig Kaiser's kind of stepped up into that role. I think he does fit into that category, even though he's kind of almost like a little bit of a pretty boy type
Mhm.
thing. He's very, like, fit, but in a lean way, not muscular, so you don't really know if he's tough, but he takes and gives a beating, so you're just like, he definitely a good place for him to kinda step it up.
Yeah, yeah, I was not interested in this match for story reasons really, but
Mhm.
3 guys in it, I was like, "Oh, that'll be fun."
Yeah.
And it is like you said, they're all big, they're all like guys who are gonna beat you up. They are, but they do it in different ways, all 3 of them. Like Sheamus is just this big bulking, he's gonna hammer down on you with his giant arms and just like knock you over. And then you got Ludwig, like you said, who's the small guy, but he's also just like picks his spots and he'll pull out some crazy moves and do some stuff. I think kind of his persona is being held back a little bit by being underneath Gunther. I think he could kind of break off onto his own at some point if he
And I
really
think
wants.
that's what they're doing with him because I think Gunther a couple weeks ago told him, "Go make something of yourself." So I think that that's the story they're trying to tell.
Yeah, which is, I mean, he could stand on his own, I think, at some point. And then you got Braun Breaker, who's just this all around, like super athletic, gonna fly into you. Like watching that guy run between the ropes is insane how fast he goes for he's just like this little pit bull, this little boulder of a man who's like super fast and will hit you super hard, and his spear is insane. And that shoulder block where he
Rich
uh
Hammerman?
jumped over the guy's body on the ground and like landed perfectly is just like he's just this visceral primal athlete you throw in here. And so all 3 of those styles, and they're all like guys will just hurt you, made this match like fun to watch.
Yeah, I say with Braun Breaker, I always kept hearing about Braun Breaker in NXT. I didn't see a lot of him, saw little bits of him, was aware of who he was, and everyone kept saying, "This dude's gonna be like a main eventer. He's gonna be like the next big thing. He's gonna be a big deal." And I was like, "We'll see what happens when he comes to the main roster." Dude, he is gonna be the next
But
big thing, man.
he already kinda is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, they've I don't know what it is. He just has something about him that he just, like,
Uh-huh.
has a presence that's just legit, and like I said, some of the shit that he does from a match standpoint, as he's still relatively new to this, but yeah, that athleticism that he's got, I mean, his that Frankensteiner he does off the top rope where he's falling backwards and then he jumps and grabs him, that's insane to me, that makes me gasp every time he does it,
Yeah.
but he does it perfectly.
Mhm.
Did you
Some
see on, I think, Monday when he like, threw himself into the table and almost impaled himself?
Oh, I think I caught that later.
Yeah, he was fighting, Ludwig Kaiser, and he just was running at 20 miles per hour or whatever, and he Ludwig Kaiser just tripped him, and Braun Breaker just went chest first into the corner of the announce table,
Oh, yeah.
and I was like, "Oh my god, he's dead," and
He could've really hurt himself there.
he
Yeah.
coulda really hurt himself there, that looked nasty, but yeah, he's become must watch, man, for
Well,
me.
every now and then a guy comes along where even if they're not the best on the mic, which he very well can be, like the times he's spoken, he can carry himself. Like, is he at the top level of that? No, but that's a skill you can also improve and pick up on as you go.
Yeah.
There's some guys who just like their athleticism is gonna carry them to those heights
Right.
of being the top guy in the company. Doesn't matter what they do on the microphone. You know what you pull the guy like that? You put him with Paul Heyman, like you did with Brock Lesnar, because he just gonna wreck people, and you need somebody to talk for him. So eventually, they've already hinted at him being one of the next Heyman guys at some point, anyway. But yeah, he is one of the future faces of this company. Already IC champion. The next level is consideration for World or WWE at some point. It's just a matter of time. He's inevitable. He's like Thanos. He's inevitable.
Yeah. Yeah, and most likely come WrestleMania, he's probably gonna be the one to retire Goldberg. Goldberg's supposed to be having a retirement match, and I can't imagine. I've heard this on some other podcasts, and other people mention this, and it's 100% right. Like, tons of people have done the spear over the years. Goldberg was the one that really Goldberg spears were legendary. Like, Goldberg did it, and then everyone started doing spears, and they're fine. Everyone has their variations, but they're all okay. Braun Breaker is the first person to come around that does a spear, and it's just like, this is the best since Goldberg. Like, everyone else's spear is just whatever, but, like, Braun Breaker's, that hits you and you feel it, and Goldberg's was like that. It was hard, it was real. He ran through people with like you're supposed to with a spear, where a lot of people Bobby Lashley does one where he does, like, a flip, and he barely hits him. Edge, every once in a while, does a good one, but a lot of people do the spear, but not everyone should do it, and Braun Breaker is definitely his spear is nasty.
A lot of it has to do with how the guy you're spearing sells it.
Of course.
Well, you have to hit them hard enough so the cell looks real. So, like when their legs go flying up in the air and they're on their back hard as fuck, it looks like, oh my God, they just killed that person. That's what Braun does. He goes at you so hard I think the guy his opponent who has to sell it, like, has to sell it that way because he was just hit that hard.
Well, I think it almost comes down to the person who's giving it, because Goldberg did this and Braun Breaker does it, is like the person who's giving it almost has to be under the mindset of I'm going to put you through the ring. So like when they're coming down, they're almost coming down on top of their heads because their goal is to grind you through the
Mm.
floor, where everyone else kind of just hits you and then like carries you to the ground or barely hits you. And these guys like almost, stinger themselves as they're doing these like headstands.
Yeah,
Anyway,
Rhino would be proud.
Rhino did give a good his gore was nasty too back in the day.
Mhm.
But anyway, we're talking about the triple threat. This was my favorite match of the night. I thought, and just like you said, it was the people involved, storyline, whatever. The storyline was I want to fight, and what they delivered. This was hard hitting. It went about 14 minutes. Braun Breaker ended up pinning Sheamus. There is a story in this where Sheamus says, which they've been telling now at some point, is the IC title is the only belt that Sheamus has never gotten.
Right.
So this is like his last mountain to climb ultimately, and they've kind of teased when Gunther was the IC champ with Sheamus winning, and they had some great matches, but they didn't give it to Sheamus, and now they're kind of teasing it again with Braun Breaker, and you're like, they ever going to give Sheamus this belt?
Yeah.
And they had some good close calls with this one when Ludwig Kaiser kind of broke up some pins, which I enjoyed.
Well,
Um,
they pulled all the right strings for what it makes a good triple threat match. Because sometimes triple threat matches can get messy, but if the guys are executing it right, you're supposed to have those moments where one guy hits his finisher or some big move on the other guy, and they're supposed to win, but the third guy pulls the ref out of the ring or breaks it up at the last second.
right.
Like that's the stuff where it's like, okay, Sheamus had Braun on his back for more than 3 seconds. Like, so he technically should have won, but Ludwig pulls the ref out at the last second. The whole crowd, oh, like that's the kind of shit you like to see in a triple threat match. So like three guys who can orchestrate a three-way the right way makes it exciting. So they did that a lot of times during this match. I agree. This is probably my favorite match, like in ring, like performance wise. They put on the best show, I think. Yeah, it was just fun all around.
Yeah.
I liked it a lot.
Yeah, it was really the first match that kind of made you sit up a little bit through the
Mhm.
show going, okay, it really woke up the crowd and it just really was a good match. All in all, it belonged on this show, and I'm ready to see what they do more with it. So I'm definitely here for it. They followed this match with the World Heavyweight Championship, which was Gunther, the champion, versus Damian Priest, getting a rematch from SummerSlam. I didn't like this match.
Yeah.
I mean, I didn't like the story they're telling with Gunther since they had to do this stupid crown jewel thing and give him a loss, which is stupid. And then they tried to work it into the story where they're like, hey, he's shaken. His confidence isn't the same. Well, I like Gunther that he's one of the only like heels in wrestling that doesn't have to be a chicken shit.
Yeah. He has that confidence all the time and doesn't cheat to win, right?
Right. He just beats you. And that's a rare thing. Kurt Angle was kind of a bad guy who could do that. It's rare that bad guys just are chicken shits and have to cheat to win. I mean, even Roman Reigns held that belt for 4 years, and everyone knew how all of his matches were gonna end.
Mhm.
He was gonna cheat to win because that's the only way he won all of his matches, and it's like, come on, do
Yeah.
something. So the fact that Gunther, that was always his shtick, the fact that they were playing with that was unappealing to me.
Mhm.
I didn't mind. I was really excited for the SummerSlam match with Damian Priest. I thought they were telling a good story of what they were doing with the two of them. So I didn't really necessarily mind them running that back, but the fact that it was, like I said, this kind of Gunther that was like a shell of himself, and does he have the like lacking confidence, and just like that's not Gunther.
It shouldn't be Gunther anyway.
Yeah, so it just wasn't appealing of a story. And then there was always that thing that was hanging over that going, I know how this match is gonna end.
The same way all Damien's matches have ended since
Yeah,
the end of
since SummerSlam.
Judgment Day ended. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
So
yeah.
I'm just like, Finn Balor's gonna come in and screw this up, and we're gonna have the exact same finish that we had at SummerSlam, and we did. So it was like the laziest thing, like you couldn't come up with anything else than Finn to come out, and
Right, because Finn cost Damien at SummerSlam, right, and then they kind of had them focusing on each other for a second, and then they didn't. So then now, okay, Damien's back to being number one contender, and it just happens again. It's like, what? Well, this is just you guys are just recycling what we've already seen.
Which
Um,
then means we're now gonna get another Finn Balor Damian Priest match that nobody wants to watch, and, like, now you're continuing this feud that should be
should, should
done.
should have ended, right? It should have ended. Uh, I can agree with that. I don't know. This match didn't have a lot of juice for me either. There were some spots in there that are okay. I think both guys are good.
Yeah.
Like that clash of styles too is interesting, but just nothing crazy about this match. I don't like the whole, Gunther calling Damien street trash, and that's just their whole feud is like,
Right.
I'm better than you, and you're from the streets, and I'm not, and blah blah blah. That's like an old stupid story. Um, just nothing huge on that. And I don't like in matches when uh, it becomes one of a guy's body part is injured, and that's why he can't do anything. Like, oh my God, Damien's shoulder is hurt, so now he can't power bomb. He can't do a razor's edge. He can't lift him up. That's why he's gonna lose because his shoulder is so destroyed in this match. Like it just seems kind of a weird, played out kind of a thing that I'm just like, all right, we get where this is going. He can't move his arm. It's over. You know,
Well, it depends on how they tell it.
Mhm.
Like, there are ways that that works, but, it's rare when it does. But then if the arm's not gonna come into play, then why do it? Why did you do all of that this whole time saying he's not gonna beat him because of the arm, and he's either gonna have to come back or the arm's gonna be what does it, and then Finn comes in and ruins it, and you're just like, "Oh, well, why were we even worried about the arm? It didn't matter."
Right, the arm didn't have anything to do with the outcome in the I
Yeah,
guess. Well, I guess he choked him out with that bad arm and kept putting him in those submission holds, but, yeah, I don't know.
it
Kind
just
of
was weird.
yeah, and I'm the bigger picture, I'm a little worried about what you do with Gunther. I don't know. I'm not saying his title run hasn't been good, it's been good in spots, but it could have been I feel like it should have been better. I think during Gunther's IC run, we all saw him as this next heavyweight champion. He's going to have a great run. He's this heel who nobody can touch, and he's just a unstoppable force. And just so far in his world title run, I'm not really like paying too close of attention to what Gunther's doing. And I don't know if just that's his opponent hasn't been right yet, or
I can't even think of who he's defending that belt against.
um, shit. I mean, it has to be a couple people.
I mean, I know he's done defenses. The only thing I can remember is that they, like I said, screwed around with all that stuff with Cody Rhodes. I know he's defended that belt a couple times, but I can't tell you. So that tells you right there that there's a problem. That I can't even name one of his feuds since he won it.
Didn't he fight Seth Rollins once? I think he might have fought Seth Rollins once.
Probably. Yeah, I don't have it. I don't have an answer. I see you googling, so maybe you might find something there. But yeah, I don't know, and I think that that's ultimately like kind of the problem is if you're not putting him in any kind of memorable feuds. And like I said, we had to waste all this time with Crown Jewel.
Was it Jay Uso once? Maybe no
Jey
that.
Uso was one, which like I said, I struggle with Jey Uso as a single. So
Yeah, I don't know. The fact that I have to go to my phone to even look it says a lot. Yes, who knows? So
yeah,
it's
I want to see more of him. I like him being world heavyweight champ, but we gotta
a little underwhelming run so far. I think
yeah.
they need to put him either with if you're gonna do Punk before Mania, if you're gonna or at Mania, if you're gonna do Drew coming back or Seth, like he's got to mix it up with get some better stuff going for himself. I think.
Yeah. There needs to be some people that want that belt.
Yeah,
And right now I don't know who it is. So I'm hoping they got a plan for him coming through the rest of the year.
for sure.
So we'll see. We'll see what he does. Then we hit our main event, which was Roman Reigns, the Usos, Jay and Jimmy, Sami Zayn, and CM Punk taking on the Bloodline, which was Solo Sikoa, Jacob Fatu, Tamatonga, Tongaloa, and Bronson Reed in a War Games match.
Yeah, this is the big one. They've been kind of
This was really the only match that the show was. This was the one. This show was basically booked as a one match show, and this was the match.
pretty much the other four matches for this were like the obligatory. We need other matches on this card,
Yeah.
you know. But this is the kind of one that's been brewing ever since shit. I don't know WrestleMania. after Roman lost, and then Solo took over immediately after, and then, Roman took his 4 or 5 month break and finally came back at SummerSlam and has been building to this and collecting his pieces and getting the OG bloodline back together, even though that's hasn't been fully fleshed out or explained. But um, yeah, we finally got to this point. Solo put together his thing, and you added Bronson Reed recently I guess. But yeah, and I guess you get Punk on this card by throwing him into the match, which has its own ramifications of him and Roman, even though for some reason in my mind, like they're beefing, but it doesn't make sense on TV. It makes sense because they're both like these big names and they both like want to be the guy and have these attitudes. But what is their beef besides like I'm the old Paul Heyman guy and you're the new Paul Heyman guy? Besides that, there's no connection really between them. Like, even from back in the years when Punk was in WWE, like, headlining everything, Roman wasn't a top guy at that time, so their paths never even really crossed on TV. So
Maybe a random Shield match somewhere. I don't know.
I always found it kinda weird that Roman already has some big issue with Punk as a character, maybe as guys there's this beef, but that's just something I didn't quite follow, like, why do they hate each other? They've never explained that part really. Do you kinda know what I'm saying? Like, they're pushing to us as these viewers, there's some big beef between them, but it was never a TV thing, so I don't know. But I think you just put him in this match because he's CM Punk. So, yeah, this was the big one. What'd you think of it?
I didn't really like it. I mentioned earlier that I didn't really like the build leading up to this. I feel like they left a lot on the table, and they spent all of their time just trying to figure out who the fifth guy was when this was really Bloodline versus Bloodline. So why even add a fifth guy? Like they
Mm,
could have done 4-4,
I could've.
and it would have been better ultimately. Um, so it was one of those things where it's just kind of like, well, what are we doing here? Um, I felt like they could have spent those 2 weeks telling more of a building up the beef and building up the reunion with the bloodline. I mean, I feel like the moment they reunited should have been a bigger moment than it was, and it was just randomly on SmackDown, and it didn't feel earned. It just felt like we have to do it because this is the story beat. So
One
I just personally, it just didn't really do anything for me. So going into this match, I was kind of like, whatever. I really don't like war games matches. Ultimately, they feel like they're the same, like I said, formula that you do. You watch beatdowns. Bad guys usually always have the advantage. You get the beatdowns, and it's 2-on-1, and then it's 3-on-2, and then it's 4-on-3, and beatdown. Then all of a sudden, when everyone's in the ring, then everybody's up and standing across rings from each other, and then you have a 5-minute brawl, and somebody wins. So
Yeah.
and that's what I felt this one was. Now this one, I realistically, this match for me will be remembered of Bronson Reed jumping off the top of the cage and CM Punk pulling Roman Reigns in the last second because I thought they did that perfectly.
Oh, that was a
Um,
great spot timing-wise.
Timing wise, it was insane. Like you really couldn't have any closer in that timing, and someone would have died. So, um,
I think Bronson Reed fucked his ankle up on that too.
I would imagine. I would imagine there's no way. I mean, that dude, a 350-pound dude, should not be jumping off the top of a cage anyway, and then trying to go through a table safely. Like, no.
That's how Edge hurt himself though too, is like these guys jumping off that top rope and then landing on your feet. Like just I know that's like a reaction where you want your feet to hit because you don't want your whole body to hit the ground. But it's like when you do, that's all your weight coming down on, and he's a big dude. So when your feet hit before your body does, that's all your weight coming down from being, 25 feet in the air.
Yeah.
It's it's like, oh man, I wish I wish him the best. Hopefully he's not hurt for long. But I saw a video of his ankle twisting on when he hit the ground.
Oh, yeah. I haven't watched any of the other. I haven't seen any other like videos of that. So I've only watched it while it was happening.
Yeah, and apparently Jimmy really did break a toe. Like,
I did see that like headline came through that on his splash off the top of the cage. So
those are big spots that get the crowd to ooh and ah, but they're dangerous. Don't let anyone tell you they're not dangerous.
well,
I have I have a hot take just while I mentioned Jimmy. Jimmy, better than Jay. That's my hot take.
yeah. I'll agree with that. And
Wrestling wise. Now, Jay's good at getting the crowd hyped and he's probably maybe better on the mic, but to me, I don't know, Jey Uso's sloppy. Like, he's not I don't know, man. He
He's sloppy. He doesn't put on good
it
matches.
like 10 super kicks, and that's his thing, and, like, a couple other things, but he's not I don't know,
Not a
just
good wrestler.
his move list is very limited. I always notice whenever I see him, it's like, "Jay, you just look soft,
Yeah.
and, like, you don't do anything."
Yeah, his match with Gunther for that heavyweight, everyone's like, "Oh, this was so good." Was it? Like, I don't know. It just I've really never been impressed. Jey Uso, like the Usos have had really good matches as a tag team.
Sure.
But when he went single, he never changed how he wrestled. So he still wrestles like he's in a tag team and someone else is doing half the work. So he's just doing his half. And you're like,
Right,
"No, man, now you're solo.
right,
You got to do the whole thing. So you can't just do the 3 things that you do in a tag team and you got to do 6 things now."
right.
So John Cena had his 5 moves of doom, so you gotta add a couple moves to
Yeah.
this thing and do something that gets people. Yeah, you can wave your arms, you could say yeet, which I to me, the yeet thing, yeah, when in the bloodline, it had its moments, but to me, that's just LA Knight's yeah. So I'm like, you're just taking something like so it never even felt original to me because it felt like once he really started doing that,
Mhm.
he was stepping on LA Knight's toes. Doing
Right.
the yeah thing, and I felt like that whole thing has cooled down. Granted, I don't see LA Knight a lot, so maybe it hasn't, but it's just like I said, yeah, Jey Uso doesn't do anything for me. Yes, I good for him. He can get the crowd hyped that he's like their number one merchandise seller. Kids like him. I know one of our friends, his daughter like loves him and has all his
Oh,
merchandise on her walls.
that was what
It's
I was gonna say. He's for kids.
charismatic.
Yeah, he's for kids.
Yeah,
He's he's for kids.
but yeah, he doesn't do anything for me. So yeah, I would watch a Jimmy Uso match probably more often, and sometimes Jimmy Uso makes me laugh more than Jay anyway. Like I said, Jay fell into this weird caricature, and it
Yeah.
didn't do anything for me. But I
It
did
looks
look up if I was looking up to see if Roman Reigns and CM Punk ever fought before, and there was a year ago there was a Reddit post that was written as what is the apparent heat between Roman Reigns and CM Punk, and it was talking about when Roman Reigns was coming up, CM Punk was supposedly like was told to make Roman look strong in like one of their big tag matches or stuff. So supposedly Roman doesn't like Punk for like
not putting him over.
making his job harder, making people not like him and getting over, I don't know.
We'll see, but that's fine, but that's also behind the scenes stuff.
100%. Like
They're
I
2
had to
they're
go on
2
some
char
random Reddit that is not who knows what it is and
their 2 characters have no history of beef, but all of a sudden they have this beef on TV, and it's just like, Roman look at him like, "What are you doing here?" Like, "You guys don't even know each other." Like, in ring, your characters don't really know each other, so it's like,
yeah.
okay, it's just
It's 100% because yeah, here someone said it was when CM Punk left and he did that Colt Cabana podcast where he was bad mouthing everybody. One of the lines that he dropped in there was, you got to make Roman look really strong, and then that made all of the fans basically be on Punk's side. So then after that, Roman just started getting booed, and as they were trying to push him as a main eventer, it nothing was really working. So like his whole push. Granted, they never stopped them from trying. Um, but they still like he's annoyed by him by that. But once again, as you said, that's all behind the scenes shit that if you're not paying attention
right.
behind the scenes, if you're just watching the weekly show, you have no idea.
Yeah, it's the only thing they're going off of is, like I said, they're both old Heyman guy, new Heyman guy, and that'll maybe be explored for a little more. I mean, it has to be explored a little more in the future. That will get more into what the favor is that Punk's going to call in for on Paul for helping out in this match. But I don't know, in ring performance for this match. You can't really not. I kind of agree with you. Like this match was okay. I think last year's men's war game was much better, just to me. Uh, but you can't not talk about this match without just talking a little bit about Jacob Fatu and how he's just a menace. Like how we just got done talking about Braun Breaker. Like this is the other guy who's like that, like up and coming, just got to the main roster, just wreaks havoc through everything. Like everything he does is just insane and gets the crowd hyped. And
He is
uh,
a presence.
he's just like, dude, like even just the mere sight of him of Solo stopping the other member from coming out and telling, no, Jacob, go. And people are like, oh shit, here he come. Like this dude has the crowd in a chokehold right now just because of what he's able to do in the ring, that he's just so good at so I think the future's really bright for him. I'm just like they got to be super through the roof, through the moon, to the moon, happy that he is on their roster in the future for this guy.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, I haven't seen a lot of them as I mentioned earlier. I don't really watch a lot of SmackDown, but I'm aware of him, and
Mhm.
what I've seen of him has been big. And they even did a couple weeks ago on Raw when the Bloodline invaded Raw to interfere in Jey Uso's match, and then they did that Braun Breaker and Jacob Fatu face down, and the crowd just started rumbling like, "Yes, give that to us." And we're like, "Yeah, that's gonna be a WrestleMania main event in a couple of years.
You got to have that one of these days, you
That's
know.
gonna happen." So I'm just yeah, like I said, yeah, Jacob Fatu, the uh, just the athletic ability that he has, the presence that he has, the kind of menace that he brings, the fact that, like I said, when Solo told him to go and that crowd started rumbling, you're just like, okay, they got something with this dude and they're handling it perfectly. Um,
The
just
only thing
keep
that
it
gets
building.
me the only thing that gets me a little bit about him is just like the invincibility sometimes, or like the no cells. I know you got to do that with guys sometimes. Be like, he's stronger than everybody, but sometimes it's like, okay, enough of that,
Yeah.
enough.
Yeah, he did
So
that to Punk too, where he just popped up after Punk did stuff. But you heard when he did it and Punk had his back to him and you heard that crowd, like
they're into it.
they're
So I
into it. So it's like you can't when it's done right, and it's a thing for a reason. And yeah, I don't like no cells, but
yeah.
sometimes, like I said, you can have the right guy, and I think Jacob Fatu is the right guy. Like I said, these guys all did the work, but yeah, it's just I wasn't really invested into the story coming into this, and then I really kind of expected
A different finish.
Bloodline to win.
Yeah.
And I understand that Roman got pinned by Solo at Crown Jewel, which once again I didn't see, so I don't have any emotional investment into that. But
Mhm.
like, so you don't want Roman to lose 2 times in a row, but at the same time, like, now what am I supposed to care about for this new bloodline? Like, at this point, the new bloodline's cooked. Like, this is what you were building this whole new bloodline up to, is to do a War Games match with the OG bloodline, and now you have like a team of losers.
Well, it's always a weird thing in wrestling when the heels are finally victorious. Because when the heels or when the faces lose, they lose and then they gotta push and they gotta keep chasing. But when a heel loses, it's like, all right, that's like the end of the chapter. Good guys won. Happy ending. Story's over. Where do we go from here? Like if on SmackDown, Solo comes out and he's just still talking the same talk and talking the same trash, like you can't do that now. You lost. You guys have lost. Now what more do you have to say to claim you're the rightful bloodline and you're the rightful tribal chief?
Yeah.
So really, like it's done. So now it's just a matter of what are the storytellers and the writers now going to do with this? Like, how do they
Right.
shift around? What do you do with the new bloodline? Like, I don't know. To me, in my mind, the story's done. Like you told it, it's finished. He sat there and took 5 finishers in a row, and Roman pinned him. It's like there's
That was
nothing.
that was definitely a end. That was the
Yeah.
period at the end of the story.
The only thing that didn't happen was Roman take back his fucking necklace. So I guess we're still going with that. But it's like, besides that, he proved he's the original bloodline is superior. They beat them. So I don't
Yeah,
know.
and then half of that original bloodline goes back to Raw.
Right.
So now what? Like, are they staying on SmackDown to continue this? Is there a point? Like, there's no more group matches. We don't need another group match. So does this
Right.
come back to just being we just do Roman Reigns and Solo again? Like, I don't know
Yeah.
what the story is that you continue to make anybody care post this.
Yeah. I don't know. I don't know where you go from here. Obviously something's brewing with Punk and Heyman and Roman, for maybe that's how you shift away. What you do with Solo and those guys, no clue.
Do they have to is I mean, do they like you said, do they shift to Punk and Roman for like the first Netflix Raw and make that a big deal and have them fight and then just do like a second new bloodline civil war and have like Jacob take over from Solo and we just watch the combustion of the new bloodline?
I think the only real thing like we talked about that keeps this going is if Dwayne comes back and inserts himself into this.
Yeah.
Uh, The Rock, like if he's ready to come back, if all
Yeah.
his obligations for movies and everything are done, and he wants to be on the first Netflix Raw, and he wants to be on the road to WrestleMania from Royal Rumble on, like him hopping into this bloodline thing is the only thing that I could see keeps it going. Besides that, I don't know. And then that was the predictions for Mania is finally Roman versus Rock, or is it going to be Rock versus Cody, or how do we get there, or what's the road we're going to take to get to those matches? Um, but yeah, him coming back is the only thing I could see that keeps us going. Otherwise, I don't know how you keep it going. That seemed like a period on the end
Yeah.
of the story. So, and I was a little disappointed that it was just such a clean finish. Like I was just expecting something, like
And they teased that something was gonna happen. Like,
yeah, whether it was Heyman doing some betrayal stuff or somebody else coming out or Seth coming out and doing something or whatever the case was, like just something more than just like a clean good guys beat the bad guys. I don't know. I felt a little like something was lacking with the ending. I don't know.
it was, and then once it ended, we had a whole celebration with them in the ring, and I'm kind of just waiting for the boom to drop. I'm just waiting for someone's music to hit. I'm waiting to hear "If You Smell" or
Right.
something, and nothing happens. And then they leave the ring, and I'm like, "Why am I still watching this?" And then
Well,
they walk down and they celebrate outside the ring. Then they walk down the ramp and start celebrating there. And I'm like, "Why is this still happening?" Like there was a full solid 10 minutes at least of them just celebrating with Roman Reigns music playing in the background, and I'm like, "Why is this still on? You should have ended the show 10 minutes ago with them after they celebrated in the ring, all did their pose in the ring, then the show goes off the air, and instead they made them go pose 3 different other ways."
I was gonna say even that last pose they wanted to end it on because I can tell they really like this when there's 4 ones in the sky and then Punk doing his go to sleep. They really like that image because they've done it now 3 or 4 times, but
Just last night.
they wanted to get that last one in because Punk was already backstage. He was already way back there, and then, like, somebody back there told him, like, "No, go back. We need you to end the show on you guys doing that." I was just like, "It's so weird."
Yeah, because he came running out of nowhere and just, like, slid in there.
Right, like, he was already fucking gone. Triple H is back there and Gorilla like, "Get your ass back out there. We need this last show." Uh,
Yeah,
mm,
he just ran out of nowhere and just lucked in there and did it, and that made me laugh, I will say.
yeah, but like I said, uh, the match was alright. Couple big spots, like you said, Bronson Reed, Jimmy Uso's jump o frog splash, and, Roman jumping off into all 5 guys. I mean, there were some big spots, and, I don't know, it was just okay. I don't remember Sami Zayn doing jack shit. I don't know nothing about him in this match. But, like,
Or the
uh,
Tonga
for the
outside of, like, one of those Tongas, like, crawling around that cage, whichever one opened the show.
they were like when I saw a meme that was him doing that, it was like when Spider-Man first got his powers, like, he
Yeah.
was like
"Do, do, do," just, like, crawling around, yeah.
he also did something funny. What's the name of that ref who's been around a long time? He was the ref, like the blonde hair guy who does
Charles
the
Robinson, the
Charles
little
Ref.
H.
Yeah, I think he was the referee for this. And Tama, that's the one who's weird, right? Tama Longo.
I think so.
Okay. I get the two confused. Sorry. They don't stand out enough to me. But like that guy, the weird one, he was the first one in. I think it was him and Jay. And they were the only two in there. And like Tama went for a pin. And, like, there's no pins until everybody's in the ring, and then you looked over at Charles Robinson, and Charles Robinson was just like, "What?" Like, shrug "Oh, with no pins." And he was like, "Ah, come on." And, like, the whole crowd was like, "You fucked up. You" I was like, "That's funny." If I don't know if he,
Yeah.
like, did that on purpose or, like, he really thought he
Just
could go
just
open,
by instinct went for the pin.
right? Yeah.
Sometimes you need that as, like, that's your and your ahs when you're talking, you know? You're like, "Okay, I need a second before I figure out what my next batch of moves are gonna be, so let me go for a pin real quick."
Yeah.
Um, we used to backyard wrestle. We used to go for pins all the time just because we needed that time
To breathe.
to breathe. What was the other thing that you said where they were talking about the bell ringing?
Oh my god, at the beginning and this is weird because they did it in the women's match, but they didn't do it in the men's match. They just did them completely differently. Like, the bell isn't supposed to ring until that 10th person is in, because that's when the match officially starts. Uh, so even at the beginning of this match, when it's just the 2 of them in the ring, Michael Cole's talking about it, on the broadcast, he was like, "This match does not officially start until the last man is in the ring. There will be no bell." And they just heard ding, ding, ding. And Michael Cole like, "Well,"
Never mind.
like the other announcer was like, "Well, I guess that's just the bell to tell us we're officially underway." And it's like Michael Cole's like, "Yeah, yeah, okay, yeah, sure." But he just said, "There will be no bell." And you just heard ding, ding, ding.
They
So
must have heard him just say bell and they just reacted.
yeah. But
There will be no bell. Oh shit, I missed my cue. Ding ding.
in the women's match, they did it right. Like Aya was the last one in, the bell rang. In this match, Roman, when he got in, they didn't ring the bells. Like, why'd you do it two different ways? Like, weird
Yeah,
miscommunication.
like I said, yeah, it must have just been a cue thing that I think that whoever was ringing the bell just wasn't paying attention and
Yeah, it was funny.
or just instinct just did it.
Michael Cole probably like snapped on that
Oh yeah,
bell.
he had his mic on mute quick. What the
You're
fuck?
making me look like an idiot.
Yeah, I can imagine. He seemed like he'd be having fun. But Survivor Series 2024, I mean, it's not going to be a memorable show for any real reason. They didn't give us any big moments or anything. This is the last PLE of the year,
Sure.
which is
Yeah.
crazy. We don't really have another one until the Royal Rumble in February, so it's crazy.
Well, Saturday night main event will have that feel, even
Yeah.
though it's on NBC. Not.
And so will the Raw on Netflix. They'll have that feel, but
Mhm. Was it weird to you that there's no Cody? I know Cody's the main event, but like he's the face of your company. He's your champion of your, you know, a bigger name than Gunther. Like he's the champion of your company. And I think this is like maybe the third pick PLE in a row where it hasn't been defended. I know he's got his title defense. That's what they're doing at Saturday Night Main Event, him and Kevin Owens.
yeah,
But a little weird not to have Cody Rhodes at Survivor Series, right? A
a
little
little.
weird. Yeah.
A little. I'm surprised they did the US title match here and not Cody. But
Mhm.
that's the problem when you only are doing 5 matches and you have 2 world championships.
It's true.
They need I'm hoping with Netflix they decide I know they won't, but I really would wish the brand split would go away and you would just have people tell stories and they get people get the TV time who need the TV time and you just work kind of like they used to do.
Yeah.
I
It's
wouldn't mind that. I just hate having 2 heavyweight champs. It just deludes.
yeah, it's hard. It's hard now with so many people. But yeah.
And
I
now
guess
if you're gonna have you have the US title and you have the IC title, so make it work. You're gonna have now, IC and US for the women as well. Like you just don't need all of these belts.
yeah, they kind of dug themselves into a hole when they made the two belts because now it is hard to go back to one.
I know.
Uh, because then like they want to keep those two brands, I think also to keep guys from traveling all over the world 100, keep guys fresh.
Yeah. I'm sure there's a lot of logistics. What they run into the problem with is now they're serving all these masters of like Netflix. Netflix wants everybody and USA wants everybody and
Yeah, Netflix said like they want Punk, Cody, and Roman. We're like, what's SmackDown gonna have? That's like your three biggest names. But
yeah, so I don't really know how you
yeah.
I don't know how you do that
Mhm.
outside of not having a split.
Yeah.
Or, I mean, you can still do the split, but just have the champions float.
Mhm.
So that all the champions can be on whatever show, wherever they need to be for the story. And then you bounce around.
And they kind of do. Like sometimes Cody will pop up on the other show if it's something he needs to say or do or talk about. Uh but yeah, just a little weird not to have Cody. Like this is one of your big four and like the
Right.
face company's not there. Not even
But
like come out and say something on the mic, whatever.
but maybe what's it called? Saturday Night Main Event's a bigger deal to them right now.
Maybe.
It's the
MB.
first one in a while. It's network TV. It's the first one of the series that they're going to do for NBC and part of this new deal with Universal. So maybe
Mhm.
they're like, this is our big show. We need to have Cody and we need to do this match on that show. Survivor Series is just whatever.
Yeah, I could see that.
We got the War Games match. We got Bloodline versus Bloodline. We don't need anything else for this show. Let's spread the wealth. So
Yeah.
I could see that. But yes, I agree. Not having him in here to do anything, do a segment, do a talk, do an interview,
Yeah, you could have just had
brawl.
him and Kevin Owens another face off just like for 5 minutes in
Yeah,
between
I mean, hell, even just have Cody in a box watching the show and Kevin Owens jump him
something, right?
and do a quick hallway brawl.
Yeah.
or something. But I know they're keeping them apart. They haven't touched yet, I don't think so.
Not ever since he got jumped outside after whatever show.
Yeah, I think Bad Blood.
Yeah. All
But
right.
we'll see where we go. We're heading into the holiday season. We're heading into WrestleMania season. It's going to be here relatively soon. And it's really the best time of the year to be a wrestling fan heading into WrestleMania, depending on the builds. And last year was outstanding with, like I said, good old Dwayne coming back
Mhm.
and really kicking that into a high gear. So I'd definitely be curious to see where they're planning on doing this upcoming year, because I know he's going to be heavily involved, and especially coming on Netflix and seeing what we're looking at on
For sure.
Netflix,
It'll be
what
fun.
they're allowed to do. So it should be interesting. I'm excited for it, but this was the last PLE for a year, and kind of just, I'm sure Saturday Night's Main Event will probably be a better show.
Yeah, we'll see. Like I said, show was all right. I mean,
I had fun. I
yeah,
enjoyed watching it, but nothing was really memorable.
I'll give it like a B minus. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Not a C, not a B. In between. It was
But it's
watchable.
borderline.
Yeah, very, very watchable. But
If I
no,
paid for it, I'd be a little disappointed
yeah, right. Those days are over, thank goodness. So
for now.
for now, that's a
We're
whole
waiting
nother.
for it. That's a whole other topic, and we might talk about it when it comes time to talk about it. But I think we talked enough about Survivor Series today. What did you think about Survivor Series? You know how to let us know. You hit us up on social media. We are across all the channels at Raise the Geek, or email us at raisethegeek@gmail.com. Make sure you check down in the description for those links. And remember, down in the description below is that Magic Mind deal that's only good till December 6th, where you can get 50% off until December 6th. And you can only do it with our link, magicmind.com/raisedgeekbf.
Oh yeah.
So make sure you take advantage of that deal while it is still a deal. But with that said, I think that's going to do it for us this week. So for Raise the Geek, I'm Chris.
And I'm Don.
And thanks for checking out the show.
Where geek is all we speak.